let's break down hooded eyes. I posted a reel a couple of days ago and the thing blew up. It's got over like 6.5 million views and like 11,000 comments or something insane like that, because most people just love to come on there and tell me that I don't have hooded eyes. You're right, I don't have hooded eyes, but it doesn't mean that I can't teach you how to apply makeup on your hooded eyes. The technique that I used absolutely works, and it's just kind of one of those things that you have to try and see if you like it or not. Now, my eyes are more deep set, and that means my brow bone, you can kind of see when I look straight ahead. It's not fully hooded, it's actually partially hooded because you can't see my full lower lid. So I'm actually partially hooded because this is starting to sag just a little bit. But I have more deep set eyes because this brow bone protrudes a little bit more. If you have true hooded lids, what's going to happen is this is going to sag all the way down and you're not going to be able to see any lid space, okay? Or maybe just partially some lid space. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is kind of the placement that you will need if you have that true hooded lid. One of the biggest struggles that you wrote in and told me was that you tend to get creasing. If you have an oily eyelid, which some of us do, you're going to need to prep your eyelid. And I suggest prepping it anyways. I'm going to use this cushion and I'm going to use a light shade. And what this is going to do is get rid of all of that bluey, purpley discoloration, and it's going to allow my eyeshadow to show the true color. It also is going to give your eyeshadow something to adhere to. Now, if you are using a powder eyeshadow, you want to make sure that you powder over this because powder blends with powder. I just used my feather blotting dust, and I love this powder because it does have a little silica in it, and that silica makes it so it doesn't go too matte. And we want a little bit of light reflection on our eyes because we tend to get some crepiness, and we don't want it to be too matte because then it's just going to draw more attention to that crepiness. Next thing I want to talk about is tools. So this is really, really important. Depending on how much lid space or real estate that you have on your lid is going to determine what size brush that you use and kind of the fluffiness of it. So a lot of women that have hooded eyes don't have a ton of space there. And so you're gonna wanna use something a little bit tinier to get a little bit more precision. If you use something too big, then you're going to put too much eyeshadow there and it's not going to have any real shape. It's just gonna kind of be there. This is great for blending. You're gonna want something like this for placing it. I would first start with a transition shade. A transition shade is going to be something that mimics more of your skin tone, but maybe has a warm tone or a cool tone depending on what eyeshadow look that you're going for. My favorite transition shade is called Chai, and I'm going to apply this with the fluffy side because I don't want a ton of product on my lid, and I can be a little bit more lax with where I'm putting it. So I am going to put Chai all over my lid. This is a true transition shade because what it's going to do is it's going to transition my darker shades that I use into my lighter shades, and it's just going to all melt together. Now this is another great shade that you can use just like a grab and go shade. Put this all over your lid just like I'm doing, no matter what kind of eyelid you have. Put this on, good to go. Let's get into the hood. So now we're going to grab this small size brush, and you're going to pick a shade just a little bit darker or a different tone than your transition shade. This is called Bubba. It's just a little bit of a darker, warmer shade. Now, if you have a lot of real estate up there, you can go with a darker shade, but I suggest starting lighter, and then you can always build depending on the look that you want. So what you don't want to do is, if you have this hood, you don't want to close your eyes and put this eyeshadow right here. And this is what a lot of women do, right? They just kind of like do this like back and forth motion right in this right in that crease. And then when they open up their eye, it's gone. Your eye, oh my gosh, look at it. Come on now, get back up there. Ah! Okay, I can't do that anymore to my lid. You get the point, right? So don't put it in that crease because when you open up your eye, it's going to disappear. So what we want to do is put it above the crease. So one of my best tips is take your chin, tilt it upwards, okay? So it automatically opens up that hood a little bit. And you're going to keep your eyes open and you're just going to put a little bit of shadow above that crease. Now, then tilt your head down and see if it disappears, all right? So I know that I have to put it here in order to see my eyeshadow. And that's exactly what you wanna do. Now, here's a really huge tip for you. Don't just put this eyeshadow anywhere. Put it where you have the most space, because when you start working this eyeshadow back and forth in small movements, you just want everything to be really controlled and not just like a windshield wiper movement, which is taught and I teach it too. But sometimes when we have just this really delicate area that we're working with, we want to be a little bit more precise. And that way you can see exactly where you are applying that shadow. I would leave a little bit of your brow bone exposed. You don't want to go all the way up, but you also don't want to leave this too light or highlight this, because that makes this hood or brow bone look heavy and protrude. So anything that you make dark sinks back. Anything that you make light, it brings it forward. So then I just take and connect these down to the edge of my eye just to make everything nice and cohesive. I'll show you again just so you can see. My eyes are open. I'm going to tilt my chin up. I'm going to put a little dot where I have the most real estate. I'm going to look straight ahead and I'm like, okay, yes, I can see that a little bit. So I'm going to work with that dot and I'm going to start using this small brush and working it in small increments back and forth just a little bit. Now you can then take your larger, fluffier side. This brush is incredible. I absolutely love it. And then you can do a little bit of a windshield wiper movement because there's no extra eyeshadow. You saw how much eyeshadow I used? Not very much. Now if you want something a little darker, add a different shade on top of it. Start building that color. I know that a lot of people say you should not wear shimmer if you are over X amount of years, but I think that's kind of bogus because I think shimmer can bring a lot of reflection to eyes that are hooded, and it just depends on where you put it. So if you have a true hooded eye, you will put this shimmer, I'm using the color Sis, you will put the shimmer when you close your eye and open up your hood. You are going to put it right on this lower lid. But then when you open up your lid, it kind of disappears. But when you close your eye, you can then see it. So what you want to do is take a little bit more, open up that hood, and just go up just a tiny bit higher right in this center. Just like that. I would stay away from this outer edge, but just kind of right up into the center. So when your hood or when your lid drops, then you just have a little bit of shimmer kind of stretching through that middle. Now, eyeliner. This is another thing that I get with hooded eyes is, can I wear eyeliner? Absolutely. Now, you're probably going to want to do it a little bit different because you don't have a ton of real estate there. Since you do have more of a droopy lid, what you're going to do is you're going to come underneath and you are going to connect the dots with your eyelashes. So you're just going to take a eyeliner that's going to stay, so something more waterproof, and you are going to connect the dots. And you really aren't going up into your waterline. My waterline is staying the same color, but I am just wiggling right in between my lash line. You can also do this with a tiny brush if you want. Just take your eyeliner and do this, and then you can go in and connect the dots that way. Another thing you can do to lift a hooded eye is actually use a little bit of a darker shade. So I'm going to use this liner pencil here, and if you have a hooded eye, you may, sometimes we get this like, women get this like a little bit of extra skin here, and we don't want to highlight this area. We actually want to highlight this area here. So we want to stay away from the very edge, and we want to come a little bit further in like that. Now, when you open up your hood, that's all going to change. So we are going to connect this as if I had a deeper hood here. And I'm just going to smudge this on. Just like this. Just kind of smudging. And almost in a triangle. So you see how I kind of have this like triangle here? And I'm staying away from here. And then we're going to take a small brush. And when you blend this little triangle out just a little bit, blend it towards the middle. So basically, we're just pretending like this is our corner. So if this is hooded like that, then this is going to be your darker area. And so then it's going to help lift this eye without coming too far here and highlighting this area, because we want to keep this kind of light. And then your darker, we're going to come here to kind of help lift that eye. I did this eye already so you can kind of see. So it kind of cuts this off. So we're trying to cut off what you have hanging here and lift where you need it lifted. So think of the edge of your eye coming more here. All right, and then that's where you kind of do your darker and then blend it into like an ombre there. And we're gonna just kind of brighten these areas here, and everything is going to lift. I take my cushion and I'm gonna take just a tiny little bit, and we're gonna come and put this right on this edge. I'm gonna let that dry down just a tiny bit. Just like that. Just coming straight up to where I put that darkness. And can't you already see how that made my eyes look more lifted? And so if you have this hanging here, we want to highlight that so that way it looks like it is just part of the rest of our skin. Like that. And then it makes that wing look more lifted if you have a hooded eye. See how that would look? I think it's such a cool trick. I think another thing with hooded eyes is to really accent the underneath of your eye. That's where you can make your eye look a lot bigger. So I'm going to show you, if I just take this Bubba color, this kind of warm brown, and I have like this waterline, which is my normal color, and then I have just this tiny bit of a light here, I'm just going to take and go just a tiny bit lower than that, where you're almost making an eyelid. And that is going to see how that shadows that, and it made this eye automatically look bigger. Isn't that such a neat trick? So any eye shape can do that, and it really does help to open up your eyes. And that's why when you conceal your under eyes, you don't really need to go up too high, because you want to leave a little bit of that natural shadow, because it does help make everything look better. And the least amount of concealer or under eye products you can use, definitely the better. All right, well, let's just do the rest of my makeup since we're here. I am going to use the cushion, which is a beautiful, let me show you. It's a beautiful finish. It comes in 5 colors right now, but it does leave it almost feels like it's going on like a light moisturizer, but then it dries down to just like this really soft, buttery feel. It's not a cream, it's not a liquid, it's not a powder, it's kind of all of it wrapped in one, and it leaves a really pretty finish. And it's also infused with skincare, so you get the skincare benefits of Centella, which is going to help calm inflammation and feel really good. It never feels heavy, it always looks super light. And then I use a tiny bit underneath my eyes too. This is the shade Light. I do mix the shade natural beige and light for my main shade, but then for underneath my eyes, I do like the shade light. I'm not going to do too much on my outer side because I already really did that, but then I let this dry down slightly, and this was after I already moisturized my under eyes. I do use the multi-stick balm, which I think that filling in those cracks and creases first really help the makeup, any makeup that you choose underneath your eye, is going to look 100 times better if it is plump and moisturized and kind of, like I said, fill in those cracks and crevices. But look how pretty that foundation is. It just looks like skin. I hate to say that it is filter-like, but my goodness, it's kind of filter-like. Heck, let's just do the whole thing with a cushion. So this is the shade Deep, and you can use this shade as a bronzer contour, which I think is so pretty and blends so beautifully. So this is the shade Deep, and look how pretty that looks. I am more of a bronzer girl than I am a contour, and so this just speaks to me. So you want to put this on your upper cheekbone and blend that down into the apple of your cheek just to give you a really pretty sun-kissed look. You can go across your nose a little bit and then a little bit here on both sides of the forehead. And then we want to push this back into the hairline. It blends so beautifully, so you don't have to struggle to really blend it. So if you're a gal who has tried cream makeup and you're like, I just need a little bit more, this is gonna be for you. And it lays so beautiful and lasts all day. And it does beautifully with creams too. So if you use a cream bronzer, a cream contour, I'm gonna use a cream blush. This is called Pink Slip, and I love this pink. I think it is probably one of the most underrated lip and cheek colors that Saint has, because it is so beautiful and just such like a pretty pink that I think anybody can wear. So if you are just starting out into a blush shade, this is one of those shades that I recommend to a lot of my customers. Online, these shades look crazy. So when you look at this online, you're gonna be like, Leah has lost her marbles. She has no idea what I even like, and she's trying to put me in a neon pink. It's not. It looks like this, but look how pretty and soft it goes on. Isn't that beautiful? One of my all-time favorite lip gelatos just came back in stock today, and I know a lot of you have been asking for this. I already have it on, but I'm going to touch it up for you. I like the shade Pepper for a contour along my teeny tiny non-existent lips. This helps them just give a little bit of plumpness. And then this lip gelato, you guys, it is so pretty. I'm gonna need a new one. It is my all-time favorite. This is what I carry in my purse. It is the most beautiful nude. Look how pretty that looks. And with that eyeshadow color, so pretty. Last step, setting our makeup. Now this is not cream, this is cushion, so you don't have to set it with a powder, but I do set it with the setting spray. This also has skincare infused into it, and it is going to turn your makeup into skin. Like, you guys, 3 sprays is all it takes. Now it does have kind of like a natural light smell. There's no added scents or anything to it, but it's just really, really light and natural, and the sprayer on it is, I mean, the most fine mist ever. And I just love this stuff so much. And it literally makes your makeup last all day long. I hope you learned something today in my little mini series of hooded eyes. I think that this placement is so pretty. If you have hooded eyes, if you don't have hooded eyes, give it a try. Let me know. Send me pictures. I will always help if you send me pictures. I can give you tips and tricks. If you would love a color match, I can do that as well. And I appreciate y'all being here. If you have any questions at all, reach out.